You don't have a reservation here. The words hit Sophia like a slap. She blinked, trying to process the cold dismissal from the receptionist. I'm sure I do, she insisted, her voice trembling with the exhaustion of the day. He didn't look up. Try somewhere else, he muttered, eyes glued to his phone. A chill ran down her spine. She was pregnant, exhausted, and had nowhere else to go. But something inside her snapped. I've had enough, she whispered to herself. And that's when the real fight began. Welcome to Stories with Mr. Gray. If you love uncovering the truth and standing up for justice, hit subscribe, like and drop the flag of your country in the comments below. The hotel lobby was bustling with activity, but Sophia Bennett felt like she was in a different world entirely. She had traveled for hours, her back aching and her swollen feet barely able to carry her forward. The marble floors beneath her seemed colder with each step as she made her way to the check-in desk. This should have been the moment she could finally relax. But nothing about this moment felt right. She paused for a second, taking in the lavish surroundings. The tall, gleaming pillars, the fine art on the walls, the crystal chandelier overhead. It was everything she had imagined when she booked this place. Yet none of it mattered now. Not with her baby kicking restlessly inside her, reminding her that she needed rest, comfort, and care. Something this hotel should have provided. She walked up to the desk, her hand instinctively resting on her round belly. The receptionist, a young man in a pristine uniform, was busy texting on his phone, barely noticing her approach. Sophia cleared her throat, hoping to break his distraction. The moment she did, his eyes flicked up to her, but his gaze was cold, distant, almost dismissive. Excuse me, Sophia said, forcing a smile as she spoke. I'm here to check in under the name Bennett. He didn't immediately respond. His fingers paused on his phone for a second before he lazily reached for the keyboard, clicking a few keys with almost exaggerated slowness. Sophia could feel the tension in the air, the exhaustion of travel, her growing irritation, and now the subtle coldness from the man behind the counter. You're pregnant, he said, his voice flat, as if it was the most insignificant detail about her. He looked at her belly, then her skin, as if he was just seeing a black person for the first time, but not with the sympathy one might expect. There was an undercurrent of judgment in his eyes. Sophia's stomach churned with discomfort. She nodded, trying to keep her composure. Yes, and I made my reservation this morning. I'm just here to check in. The receptionist didn't respond right away. Instead, he began typing, glancing between his screen and her like he was searching for some reason to dismiss her. After a long silence, he finally spoke, his words cutting through the stillness of the lobby. You don't have a reservation here. Sophia froze, momentarily stunned. I'm certain I made a reservation. It was confirmed. No, you don't. Try another place. We're busy. He turned his attention back to his phone, as though she were nothing more than a nuisance in his day. Her chest tightened. I've been traveling all day, and I'm not sure what you expect me to do. The higher floors are full, and you won't want the rooms we have left. But I guess you can take what's available. His words came out in an annoyed, almost sarcastic tone. Sophia's hands clenched at her sides. She tried to breathe deeply, feeling the weight of the situation press down on her. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't just a mix-up. This was disrespectful. She was pregnant, vulnerable, and yet, the man standing before her was treating her as though she didn't matter. Her voice wavered slightly as she spoke again. I'm tired. I need rest. Please, I'm just asking for a room. The receptionist gave her a cold smile, one that didn't reach his eyes. Well, if you can make do with what we've got left, I suppose you'll survive. Her heart pounded in her chest, but she wasn't going to let him win. Not now. But she is speechless. The weight of the moment settled in her chest, frustration, helplessness, and exhaustion all pressing down on her at once. This wasn't supposed to be her reality. She had imagined walking into a place of refuge, a peaceful night's sleep before the long road ahead. But now it felt like a battle she didn't want to fight. The receptionist, his tone still annoyingly dismissive, continued typing into his computer as if he had already decided her fate. You can take the last room on the 3rd floor.
No upgrades, no extras.
Just take what's there. Sophia tried to keep her voice calm, but it was slipping, her frustration peeking through. I don't need anything special. I just need a place to lie down. But I'm not going to accept being treated like this. She turned toward the door, planning to leave. She wasn't sure where she would go, but she couldn't stay here. As she made her way toward the exit, a sudden shift in the air stopped her in her tracks. The lobby had grown eerily quiet. Then, a voice rang out, sharp and commanding. What's going on here? Sophia turned to see a tall man entering the lobby, his posture confident, sharp. He was impeccably dressed in a tailored suit, the kind that screamed authority without trying. He didn't look like just any guest or manager. There was something about him, something powerful that made the entire room quiet, as if his very presence demanded respect. The receptionist looked up, his expression faltering for the first time all evening. Nothing. Just some minor check-in issues. He trailed off, clearly uncomfortable under the gaze of the newcomer. The man's eyes flicked toward Sophia, and for a brief moment he studied her. Then, without missing a beat, he stepped forward, his voice smooth yet firm. Is everything all right, ma'am? Sophia swallowed hard, unsure if she was imagining the change in tone, but his gaze was different from the receptionist's. It wasn't judgmental, it wasn't cold, it was concerned. I've been treated horribly, she said, her voice shaking slightly as she spoke. I made a reservation, but this man, she pointed at the receptionist, has refused to help me. I'm pregnant, and I've been traveling all day, and all I'm asking for is some rest. But instead, I'm being dismissed. I was told to just take whatever room was left and make do. The man's eyes narrowed, his jaw tightening. He didn't say anything at first. Instead, he turned to the receptionist, his voice low and commanding. What is this about? Why is she being treated like this? The receptionist stammered, unable to look the man in the eye. It's just a misunderstanding, sir. She's pregnant, and I can see that. The man interrupted, his voice cold now. But what I don't understand is why you're treating her like this. Why is she being told to make do with what's left? Sophia watched in stunned silence as the receptionist faltered, his earlier arrogance dissolving under the pressure of the CEO's calm but unyielding authority. The man turned back to her, his expression softening. I'm terribly sorry for the way you've been treated. I'm the CEO of this hotel chain. Let me fix this. You shouldn't have to go through this. Sophia blinked, still processing the shift in the room. The CEO wasn't just some random guest. He was the one who ran the place, the one who held the power to change everything. And he was on her side. She was stunned, but she managed a small nod. Thank you, but I just want to rest. I've had enough of this place. The CEO nodded. You won't be staying in just any room. I'll personally see to it that you're accommodated properly. No more delays. You deserve better. He turned back to the receptionist, his gaze now icy. You've failed this guest. You will be written up for this behavior. Get the manager. Immediately, the receptionist's face turned pale, and his lips pressed into a thin line. He quickly fumbled for his phone, dialed the manager, and muttered something Sophia couldn't hear. The CEO stood there, his posture still commanding, watching the entire exchange unfold without saying a word. Sophia didn't know what to say. She had walked into this hotel hoping for a quiet night, only to be met with disrespect and frustration. But now, thanks to this man's intervention, it felt like she might finally get what she deserved. A chance to rest, to breathe, to be treated with dignity. Come with me, the CEO said, turning toward the elevator. We'll get you settled in the best room we have. I won't let you leave here without the comfort you deserve. Sophia followed him, the tension in her chest slowly easing. She was still upset, still angry at the way she had been treated. But now, there was a glimmer of hope, and the receptionist, watching from behind, knew this wasn't just a mistake. This was going to cost him. As they walked toward the elevator, the tension in the lobby hung in the air like a storm waiting to break. The CEO's voice cut through the silence as he spoke without looking at Sophia. His tone as calm as it was firm. "I'm truly sorry for what you've experienced here tonight, Ms. Bennett. I'll make sure this is rectified, not only for you but for anyone else who steps foot in this hotel. You deserve better than what you've been given, and I will ensure you get exactly that." Sophia, still shaken but now with a flicker of relief, nodded silently. She had no idea how far this man's influence reached, but it was clear he wasn't going to let her go without making things right. The elevator doors closed with a soft ding and the two rode in silence, the CEO standing tall beside her. When they reached the top floor, he escorted her to a luxurious suite, far from the standard rooms the receptionist had offered her. The plush surroundings were a stark contrast to the frustration she had felt just moments earlier. But even though she was finally in a room that matched the luxury she had expected, her mind couldn't let go of what had just happened. After getting her settled in, the CEO turned toward her, giving her a respectful nod. "I'll make sure you're comfortable here for the night, but I'm not done yet. I need to address what happened in the lobby." Sophia blinked, surprised by how seriously he was taking this. "Thank you, but I don't need any more trouble tonight. I just wanted to get some rest." He smiled softly. "This isn't about trouble. This is about making sure it doesn't happen again. I'm going to deal with the person who treated you like that." With that, he walked out of the suite, leaving Sophia with a sense of unease. She wasn't sure what he meant by dealing with him, but something told her it wouldn't be a simple talking to. Minutes passed before the door opened again, but this time, it wasn't the CEO who entered. Instead, it was the receptionist, looking down at the floor with shame etched on his face. Behind him stood the hotel manager, eyes wide with nervousness. Then the CEO stepped into the room again. He did not expect to meet the receptionist in the room. "You," he said, his voice icy as he addressed the receptionist directly. "I don't know how to put this gently, so I'll make it plain. You've just made a grave mistake. Not only have you failed as a representative of this hotel, but you've disrespected a guest in a way that is inexcusable." The receptionist swallowed hard, visibly uncomfortable. He tried to speak, but the CEO held up a hand to silence him. "I don't need to hear excuses. You had one job tonight, to treat every guest with dignity. You failed that job miserably." Sophia watched, stunned, as the receptionist stammered and shifted uncomfortably. His hands twitched, his face turning pale under the CEO's unwavering gaze. "I am sorry, sir. I didn't mean to." "You didn't mean to?" the CEO interrupted, his voice calm but heavy with authority. "You didn't mean to treat her like that? You didn't mean to dismiss her based on her pregnancy? Let me remind you of something. You don't get to choose who is deserving of respect. You should have shown the same respect to her that you would show to anyone else." The manager, looking anxious and out of place, took a step forward. "I'm sorry, Mr. Lawson. We'll take care of this right away." No," the CEO said, turning to the manager with a cold stare. "It's already done." The CEO turned back to the receptionist, his gaze unwavering. "You don't work here anymore." The receptionist's face twisted in confusion and disbelief. "What? You can't be serious." "I'm very serious. You're fired. Effective immediately." Sophia could see the look on the receptionist's face. He was panicking now, sweating. He stuttered as he tried to form words, his mind clearly racing. "No, please, sir. I just made a mistake. I didn't mean it like that. Please, I need this job." The CEO's voice didn't change. "You made a mistake, all right? And now you'll learn from it. But it won't be here. I'm done listening to your excuses." Sophia watched as the receptionist's face crumpled in defeat. He looked back and forth between the CEO and the manager, trying to grasp the gravity of the situation, but it was clear. It was over. The CEO nodded to the manager, who hesitated for a moment before motioning for the receptionist to leave. The young man turned and walked slowly toward the door, head hanging low. As he passed by Sophia, he tried to speak again, his voice trembling. "I'm sorry," he muttered before exiting the room. There was a long silence before the CEO turned back to Sophia. He gave her a sincere look, his voice softer now. "I'm truly sorry you had to experience that. You were treated horribly, and I won't stand for it. This hotel will be held accountable." Sophia, still processing everything, nodded, her frustration easing as the anger she had felt earlier gave way to relief. She had not expected this level of intervention, but it felt good to know that someone in power actually cared about how she was treated. "Thank you," she said quietly, finally able to relax a bit. "I didn't know what was going to happen, but this feels right." The CEO gave a small smile. "It's the least I can do. Rest well, Ms. Bennett. I'll make sure you leave here with nothing but the best." The morning light streamed through the large windows, casting soft shadows on the plush furnishings of the hotel suite. Sophia woke up to the feeling of soft linens beneath her and the quiet hum of the city just outside. For the first time in what felt like days, she could breathe. Her body felt lighter, her mind clearer. The exhaustion of travel and frustration from the previous night had started to fade, replaced by a sense of relief. She sat up slowly, feeling her belly gently move beneath her hand, and took a deep breath. The CEO's actions had given her a sense of justice, something she hadn't expected when she first walked into the hotel. She had expected a battle, but instead, she had witnessed someone take accountability. It had changed everything. The previous night was still fresh in her mind. She remembered Mr. Lawson's calm and unwavering stance when he stood up for her, and the receptionist's apology. Felt surreal, like something from a dream. She had gone from feeling completely powerless to standing up for herself and feeling seen. As she stretched and prepared to leave the bed, there was a gentle knock at the door. "Come in," she called out. The door opened, and the hotel manager stepped inside with a smile on his face. "Good morning, Ms. Bennett. I hope you're feeling more comfortable today." Sophia smiled softly, nodding as she stretched. "Much better. Thank you." The manager walked in, holding a small bouquet of flowers and a letter. "Mr. Lawson wanted to send his sincerest apologies for the inconvenience you experienced last night. He insisted that I bring you this, a gesture of goodwill and appreciation for your understanding." Sophia's heart softened as she took the flowers from the manager. The gesture was unexpected, but it meant more than she could put into words. "Please thank him for me," she said, glancing at the flowers. "I wasn't expecting any of this, but it's nice to feel heard." The manager nodded. "I'm glad we were able to make things right. I know it's not easy to trust after an experience like that, but Mr. Lawson truly believes in treating every guest with the utmost respect." Sophia smiled again, her eyes meeting his. "I can tell."
I'm grateful.
As the manager left, she took a moment to look at the flowers on the nightstand. They were a beautiful reminder of the unexpected turn her stay had taken, from anger and frustration to this small act of kindness. Later that morning, as she prepared to check out, there was a soft knock at the door again. This time, the receptionist entered, his face full of regret. He was dressed more casually, his usual uniform replaced by a simple shirt and slacks. He looked nervous, his eyes darting around the room before he finally spoke. "Ms. Bennett, I wanted to apologize again for my actions last night. I realize now how disrespectful I was to you, and I want you to know that I truly regret it. I understand that I've lost your trust, but if you'll allow me, I'd like to personally make it right." Sophia stood still for a moment, unsure of what to say. The words he was speaking were sincere, but could she truly forgive him after everything that had happened? She had every right to walk away, to never return to this hotel chain again. but there was something about the way he stood before her, genuine, humble, that made her pause. Finally, she spoke, her voice calm but firm. I appreciate your apology. It wasn't just about what you said. It was about how you treated me. But I think what matters most is that you've acknowledged it. And that's the first step. The receptionist nodded, relief washing over his face. Thank you for understanding. I promise I'll never act like that again. Sophia nodded, a small, forgiving smile on her lips. I believe you, but I also believe it's a lesson you'll carry with you. We all make mistakes, but it's how we learn from them that matters. He nodded again, this time more confidently, as if the weight of his actions had finally started to lift. Thank you for being gracious. I won't forget this, and I'll make sure I do better. Sophia watched him leave, feeling a quiet sense of closure. This wasn't just about being treated unfairly. It was about the capacity for change, the possibility of redemption. The receptionist wasn't beyond saving, but he needed to confront his actions head-on. And that, in itself, was the most important thing. With her bags packed and the final checkout complete, she walked out of the suite, feeling lighter than when she first arrived. The CEO had done more than offer an apology. He had created an environment where justice wasn't just something that came from policy, but from people genuinely standing up for what was right. As she made her way to the elevator, she glanced back at the hotel lobby one last time. She had walked into this place feeling disrespected and unseen. But now, she was leaving with more than just a good night's rest. She was leaving with the knowledge that standing up for yourself, no matter the situation, can make a difference. Sophia stepped out of the hotel with her suitcase in hand, feeling the cool breeze of the early morning wash over her as she made her way to the car. The night had been long, and the stress of the previous day still lingered, but there was a sense of calm that came with the quiet surroundings. She had gotten a good night's sleep, and for the first time in a while, she felt at peace with herself. As she reached the front entrance of the hotel, she stopped for a moment to look back at the building. Despite everything that had happened, it had been a beautiful place. Her time there had started with frustration, but it was ending on a more hopeful note. She had been treated with respect, and things had been set right. Just as she was about to step into the taxi, a voice called out from behind her. Ms. Bennett, wait. She turned to find Mr. Lawson, the CEO, walking briskly toward her. He was still dressed in his tailored suit, but now his demeanor seemed a bit softer. It was the same commanding presence, but there was something about the way he approached her now that felt more personal. Good morning, he said with a polite smile. I hope you're feeling better today? Sophia smiled back, a little surprised to see him again. Yes, much better. Thank you for everything yesterday. I really didn't expect such an intervention. He nodded. It's the least I could do. I want to make sure our guests feel welcome and respected. Always. There was a pause, and for a moment, Sophia felt the weight of the conversation shifting. She had been processing everything in the quiet of her room, but now, standing before Mr. Lawson, she knew there was something else she needed to address. I wanted to say, I know that the receptionist's actions were out of line, she started slowly, but I also believe in second chances. I know he made a huge mistake, and it hurt me, but I'd like to ask if he could be given another chance to redeem himself. He was genuinely apologetic when he came to me earlier. Mr. Lawson's brow furrowed slightly, his expression thoughtful as he listened to her words. Sophia continued, feeling a sense of resolve build inside her. I know it's not an excuse for his behavior, but I believe he's learned his lesson. People make mistakes. I just don't want to see someone lose their job over this when they've shown genuine remorse. For a moment, Mr. Lawson said nothing. He looked at her, his gaze steady but calculating. Then he spoke in a calm, measured tone. I understand your perspective, Ms. Bennett. I really do. But let me be clear, what he did was not acceptable. His actions were disrespectful. Not only to you, but to everything this company stands for. Sophia nodded, her heart sinking just a little. I understand, but I just wanted to say, I hope you'll consider giving him a chance to improve." Mr. Lawson paused, the silence between them thick with unspoken words. Finally, he let out a small sigh, his face softening. "I appreciate your empathy, and I'm not going to ignore what happened. However, I don't think it's appropriate to let him continue as if nothing happened." "But," he said, holding up his hand to forestall any further objection, "I'm willing to give him a chance. He will not be fired, but he will be suspended for a week. During that time, he will undergo sensitivity and customer service training. If he proves that he's truly learned his lesson and can be an asset to this hotel, he can return." Sophia felt a sense of relief wash over her. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was fair. The receptionist would have a chance to prove himself, to rebuild trust and repair the damage he'd caused. "Thank you," she said, a genuine smile tugging at the corners of her lips. "That's all I can ask for. I'm glad he'll get a chance to make it right." Mr. Lawson nodded. "I think this is a fair outcome. Thank you for your understanding. It's people like you who help me see things from a different perspective. I'm sure the receptionist will learn from this, and I'll personally monitor his progress." As the conversation drew to a close, Sophia reached for her suitcase. The tension that had been building inside her slowly faded, and she felt lighter than when she had arrived at the hotel. This wasn't just about her getting the respect she deserved. It was about ensuring that the actions of one person didn't define the entire experience. She had stood up for herself, and now, she could walk away knowing that change had been made. "I'll make sure this doesn't happen again," Mr. Lawson said as he shook her hand. "I hope to see you again under better circumstances next time." Sophia smiled, nodding. "Thank you, and I'll be sure to tell others about the great service I received here today. I truly appreciate how you handled this situation." With that, she turned toward the taxi, the door shutting softly behind her as she left the hotel. It had been a challenging few days, but she was leaving with a sense of closure, knowing that even the smallest actions could lead to real change. And that was a feeling she'd carry with her for a long time. Sophia's story reminds us that standing up for ourselves is never easy, but it's always worth it. Whether it's demanding respect, holding people accountable, or showing empathy in the face of injustice, every action has the power to make a difference. If you believe in fairness, dignity, and second chances, share this story with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want to see more powerful stories that inspire change, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let's continue to fight for justice and create a world where we all treat each other with respect. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more.